Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We will get started in just another minute. We will wait for others to tune in and then get started. All right. Assalamu alaikum once again to those of you who have tuned in with us today. My name is Nurul Yazdani, and I'm an Education USA advisor based in the Lahore office. Thank you for joining us for our Fulbright journey session on engineering. We have two amazing Fulbrighters with us today. Shan, Zehra, and Qandeel Almas. They will introduce themselves as we will go along. Before I hand it over to them, I'd like to give you a brief introduction about who we are as an organization. United States Educational Foundation in Pakistan is basically a binational commission between the governments of Pakistan and the United States. We promote US education, and today we will have these two amazing Fulbrighters to talk about their journey, their Fulbright journey. And without further delay, I will hand it over to Shan.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Shan, as Noor already introduced both of us. Noor, I would request if we can start the presentation so we can go through the introduction of USEFP and our introduction as well. Today I'm going to share my Fulbright journey, how it started, what were the motivations, what are the challenges we faced during the application process, then the selection process, then during our stay at United States. Shall we start now? Going through some my educational background. I have done my bachelor's in petroleum engineering from Qandeel University of Engineering and Technology, Karachi. I have completed my bachelor's back in 2014, and I applied for MS in petroleum engineering. And I've done my petroleum engineering master's from West Virginia University through Fulbright scholarship between 2016 and 2018. In my work experience, I started my career as a lecturer in Indian University of Engineering and Technology. Then I switched as a trainee engineer for OMV Pakistan. I worked for a while in Halliburton, Pakistan Petroleum Limited, and currently I have switched my field to aviation. I am working as a senior assistant director aviation security in Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority. Going through my journey, because I know many of you guys are applying for Fulbright these days, the applications are open. I just wanted to give you a brief idea of how much timeline it takes. I graduated back in January 2014, and right after the graduation, I was working. And while I was working, I tried to prepare for GRE, whatever little time I had with my jobs. I gave my GRE exam and completed my application for Fulbright application in January 2014. I submitted my Fulbright application in May 2015. Within few months, in September 2015, I received the call for the interview. After going through interview, which also include the TOEFL exam as well, you have to first take the TOEFL exam, and then you would get the you actually apply for the TOEFL exam. You just have to show the registration during the interview process, and if you are selected after interview, in just few months you get to know. In some cases, it's like 1 month or 2 months you get to know if you have been selected. So I received my selection email back in October 2015. The university application process, where I had the list of application where I wanted to apply, and USEFP was applying on my behalf. The whole process took place in November and December of 2015. I got the acceptance from universities back in May 2016. In just 1 month, I had my visa interview for J1 visa, which is Cultural Exchange Program visa. And in August 2016, I departed for US to start my Fulbright journey. Can we move to the next, please? I particularly believe as a person that not everybody should apply for Fulbright, and before applying for Fulbright, you should keep few things in mind and see if it is the right choice for you. Should you go for the independent master's or PhD program, or you should go through the Fulbright route. Why I chose Fulbright program for my master's? Because coming from the humble background, that was one of the best opportunity that I have to study in United States. USEFP has been very supportive throughout the process. So, like there are hustles when you're applying for the visa or you're submitting your documents and everything. USC have been very helpful throughout the process. So this was also one of the reason I applied through Fulbright program. The Fulbright program, I have many seniors from many universities through Fulbright, and the alumni network of Pakistan US alumni. It's one of the strongest alumni network. Fulbright itself, it has a very strong alumni network, which is also one of the reason I applied for Fulbright. One of the other reason you should apply for Fulbright is while you are studying in United States, you have to take the
Oops, I guess we lost Qandeel. She's maybe facing some, sorry, Shan is Zehra for some sort of technical issue. If you guys have any questions in the meantime, please, you can type those in the Q&A box, and we will take questions as we go along. We will have Shan Zehra back with us in a minute. Before we can just, Qandeel, can you please just introduce yourself in the meantime?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Qandeel Almas, and I am a chemical engineer by qualification. I did my bachelor's from UAT Lahore back in 2009, and then I worked at UAT Lahore for some time and did my master's in parallel. And then I went on a Fulbright scholarship for PhD in 2015.
Thank you. Thank you, Qandeel, for that wonderful introduction. We have Shan Zehra back with us. I'm going to share the screen right where we left. Yeah. I believe we were right here. Shan Zehra, I don't think we can hear you, Shan Zehra. Okay. We can take Shan Zehra's presentation at the end. Maybe, Qandeel, would you want to start presenting? Maybe you can go ahead, and then we can listen about her journey towards after yours, maybe.
Sure, we can do that. Do you want to pull it up or should I?
If you have it open, maybe you can pull it up, and once you finish, maybe we can continue. We can continue from Shan Zehra's after Qandeel's is done then.
Okay.
All right, so my screen should be visible now, is it? Great.
Yes.
All right. So since in the interest of time, I'll go over my Fulbright journey and how I started with all of this and what challenges or what circumstances I faced during my journey. So as I was saying, I'm Qandeel Almas. I did my bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering from UAT Lahore back in 2009 and then 2013. And in the meantime, I was also working as a lecturer at the new campus. And I heard about Fulbright for the first time from one of my colleagues who was applying for the program. So he went on a Fulbright scholarship in 2012. And after learning from him, I got into the details and got to know about all the benefits of being in the Fulbright program, the amazing alumni network that you have, and how much support Fulbright gives you in terms of application and living and all of the other things in parallel to not just the education. So I'll go over all those things which I experienced throughout my journey. So I applied in 2013 for the 14th cohort, and I got into the Fulbright program, and then I did my PhD from Georgia Institute of Technology in chemical engineering. It was from 2015 to 2020. I graduated in May, and it was peak COVID time. The last 2 months were like lockdown, and I was just at home after my defense, wrapping up things and doing all the paperwork online, all those things. And then after completion, I came back. I joined UAT again. And then last year in January, I shifted to Lahore University of Management Sciences in the Chemistry and Chemical Engineering department, and now I'm working as an assistant professor here. So this was my whole career. So my journey to Fulbright selection was, I learned it from my colleague, as I mentioned, and I applied it in 2013 for the first time. And I got selected as a principal candidate in late 2013. I got to know about the university placements and all those things. I had an in-person interview at Islamabad, and I still remember that it was a very warm and welcoming experience with the in-person session. I know during COVID, it moved to online sessions, and I also conducted one of those sessions. I also mentioned that it doesn't give the same feeling as I experienced when I went in there with the panel and talked to them. So all of that experience, the Fulbright made all of the arrangements for our stay, for journey, for moving around, everything. They were very welcoming, very supportive, very quick in responding, which was a very good thing. So I got selected as a principal candidate, but due to some family reasons, I had to excuse from the scholarship. I also asked if I can defer it to the next year, but I was told that this is not allowed in the scholarship as of that moment. So I also asked if I will be eligible to apply again next year if my family circumstances allow me. And they said, yes, you will be dealt with as a new candidate. There won't be any repercussions of your last application where you have refused to go on a scholarship. So having that in that confirmation from USEFP, I applied again in 2014, and I got selected as a principal candidate again, thankfully. And after that, we went through the whole process of university placement. USEFP guided me through how to apply for some universities, how to prepare some more research statements as needed by the universities. And then in April, I got confirmations from almost all of the universities that USEFP has applied on behalf of myself. Then in June, I think, in June somewhere, we had interview processes, which were also facilitated by USEFP. They arranged all of the documentations, our visa appointments, and taking us to the destination, taking us back, and facilitating us in the whole process. It was very smooth, thanks to the USEFP. And then we had our pre-departure orientation in somewhere in late July, where I met the other Fulbrighters, the whole cohort, around 130 people, including masters and PhD. And it was a very amazing experience because I get to know about all the other people who are going in my cohort, the different backgrounds, their life stories they shared in the pre-departure orientation. I also got to meet all of the people that are going to Georgia Tech with me. So it was like a good introduction to everyone who will be there and we will be meeting in the next years while on the Fulbright program. So it was all a great experience. So so this was the whole selection process. And then in August, just before my university was going to start, I got the flight details from USEFP. They also asked me about my preference, which flight will suit me, the layover and all of those things, so that it's easy for me to get to the destination on time. After reaching United States at Georgia Institute of Technology, I met with some of the Fulbrighters who were already there. They had arranged for my pickup from the airport. They took us to the place that we are going to live in and arranged for our dinner and everything. And the next day, they took me to the university for the orientations and to get my university ID and all of those things. They also took me to my department so that I can attend all of the orientations. And afterwards, when I got out of the department, I got lost on the campus on the very first day. I didn't have a SIM, I didn't have anyone's contact number, and I was just roaming about on the road, looking for these familiar faces or familiar landmarks to identify my way back to my home. it was just at a walking distance from Georgia Tech, but I was like, okay, I'm lost in a different country where I don't know anyone. So I just started talking to people and trying to figure my way out. So it was like almost an hour or so, which I had to like walk around and then figure out. And then I just started walking in one direction and finally figure out for myself that, okay, this is the way I have to go. But it was like a strange and funny experience for me. And I was telling to my friends, they were also laughing that you got lost on the very first day. So I still remember that. But yeah, it was, that was the only day when I got lost. But I like moved around on the campus and I got to know a lot of places just by looking for my way, and I got to know about the campus a lot that in that 1 hour or so. But that was the start of my experience at Georgia Tech. Since I had a Fulbright funding, which pays for all of my stipend and my insurance and university tuition, I get to choose the professor and the field of research that I wanted to work in. That was one of the biggest, I think, benefits of having a Fulbright scholarship, that I had the leverage and the flexibility to work in whatever direction I wanted to work in. So I chose the professors that I wanted to work in with. They were very good people. I had a very, very good time with them. All of my research group was very nice. They taught me everything that I wanted to learn. And I worked on the field that I wanted to work on and did my projects in the field of my choice. I just wanted to let you know that I have very limited research experience going from Pakistan. So I told my professor from the very beginning that I don't know anything in research. I have less experience than most of the undergrad students that are working here at Georgia Tech. But he was kind enough and he was flexible enough to let me in. And he was like, if you're willing to learn, then you have all the opportunities to learn. And I'm very grateful to him that he had this trust in me, that he let me in, and all of the group was very amazing. And if I look back at it, I had probably one of the best people that I worked with. They taught me how, from the very beginning, how to do research, how to progress in it, and how to grow myself, not only as a researcher, but as a person and as a scientist as well. So it was a great experience overall. The Fulbright part in it is that they also funded my not only just research, but also some of the conferences that I went over during my PhD. So Fulbright also funded those, not only just for presenting, but also for attending as well. So Fulbright will cover 2 of the conferences for PhD students. I think one is for master's students, that is for now. So overall, my experience at Georgia Tech was great. There were also some Georgia Tech student chapters and then Georgia Fulbright chapter that used to have activities on campus, and we got to meet those people. So it was not just research and learning experience at Georgia Tech, but it was also the interaction with other people from other communities and other nationalities who were at Georgia Tech through Fulbright program. So it was a very enriching experience for me. So beyond the classroom, there is a big community of Pakistanis on Georgia Tech, not just only Fulbright, but through F1 visas as well, or even the Pakistani community that lives in Atlanta. So it was very easy to settle in because of all the Pakistani students that are there. And they made it very convenient for me to settle in, to get to know all of the places, to move around and have friends and have a feeling of home away from home. Then there were exit and entry seminars by Fulbright that were arranged in different locations within the US. We had one in Kentucky where they took us to the local areas, introduced us to the local people, local cultures and all those things. And there were Fulbright retreats, not just from Fulbright, but also from the Georgia chapter of Fulbright. And then all of these other activities going on through Fulbright and their network that gave us a very good sense of community. I met people from Iran and from India, Germany, Turkey, so many other different places. So it was a very welcoming and a very sense of community experience for me, which probably I wouldn't have gotten if I was not on a Fulbright experience, because Fulbright force you to interact with people who are not from the same culture as you. So take you on retreats and they ask you to interact with these people, which is, I think, a very good experience, which probably people don't get or not have enough time when they are not on the Fulbright scholarship. So beyond classroom, it was amazing. Within classroom, it was amazing due to Fulbright. So some of the challenges that I encountered, although I could speak and write and read English or listen to English, but I'm not a native speaker of English. So I had difficulty understanding what other people are saying, their tone, or if they're making a joke or being sarcastic or being serious. So at the beginning, I had really a hard time interacting with the Americans because I couldn't understand if they are being funny or being serious or whatnot. So that really took me some time to make American friends. But my group helped me, and after some time, I made some local friends as well. That was probably the main challenge that I encountered in the beginning, but later on, it was fine. In terms of health issues, USEFP had our insurance, so we didn't have any issues over there in that terms. I could just go to the health center and get myself medication without a second thought at how I'm going to pay for it. So there was no such issue with respect to health insurance or anything like that. Stipend was good enough to have a good living over there. I didn't have to care that, okay, this stipend is not going to be enough for me and I won't be able to make ends meet in this stipend. No, nothing like that. So all of the fees were paid in time. So I think Fulbright makes your life as easy as possible, and all you have to do is focus on your studies and research. I think you don't have to worry about any other thing when you are on a Fulbright scholarship. Other than that, I think the main challenge that I faced was my parents departed during my PhD. It was in 2017, right in the middle of my PhD. So that was a very, very tough time for me because both of my parents departed in the same year. But thankfully, my research advisor was a nice person. I had friends, I had Pakistani community, and that helped me through a lot during this whole difficult time. So other than that, Fulbright, I came back to Pakistan in that same time, and Fulbright arranged for my ticket as well, which went very smoothly. So I think there was no other issue that I had during my PhD program. After the fellowship, well, my fellowship ended in 2020, but my Fulbright experience is still going on. I volunteered for the careers Fulbright selection interviews back in 2020. I conducted those for one day, and afterwards I had small kids, so I couldn't go for the application review or any other sessions that Fulbright was arranging, but I always get emails for invitations and if I want to be a part of it. And this was one of the sessions that I could do easily. And I was like, yes, I should do it because Fulbright has given me so much that I should give something back to the community, whether it's like a few minutes or whatever I can, I should give it back. So this experience is still going on. The whole my time at the US with the Americans, with the USEFP here, with the whole Fulbright program and the community that I was a part of and still am a part of, that has helped me a lot in my career and personal growth. So I think this was probably one of a kind experience. I had people who were on F1 scholarship, and I don't think that they had the same experience that you get when you are on a Fulbright scholarship, just because of this whole community that you have of the Fulbright all around the world. So I think this is like a very, very enriching experience that there is no parallel to. And that is why whenever since I have come back, I have encouraged my students and whoever knows me or talks about me about studying abroad, I tell them to apply for the Fulbright scholarship because it's not just about education and research. You will get that in F1 if you go by yourself, but it's about the whole experience that you get by being on a Fulbright scholarship. So yeah, that was my Fulbright journey. So my scholarship had ended, but my journey with Fulbright hasn't. And I don't think it will ever end because the community is there and the opportunities to interact with Fulbright are there. So I think the journey will go on as long as I am here and the USEFP and Fulbright program is here. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them at the end of the session.
Thank you so much, Qandeel, for sharing such a wonderful journey. It was so nice to hear from you directly. We have another wonderful journey from another alum. We got it disrupted because of the internet. We are now going to start. I know we have 8 questions in the Q&A box. Before I hand it over to Shan and Zehra, I'd like to give a brief introduction because somebody's asking about what is the Fulbright scholarship. Fulbright scholarship is basically a fully funded scholarship for PhD and masters. You can read more about it on our website, which is usefp.org. Make sure to read the FAQ section as well and read the information carefully. If you still have questions, you can email to our programs department in Islamabad. You can reach out to them at info@usefp.org. And I will now hand it over to Shan and Zehra, and I will just share my screen. Yeah.
Okay, so earlier we discussed about the timeline through how we apply and how much time it takes to get to US and everything that comes in between through the application process till the interview, then selection, and then departing for the US. So here are the things that I remember I did before applying or submitting the application. Whoever is applying, these are my tips for them. Make list of prospect universities based on our area of expert and interest. Before you apply for any university, make sure that you're able to justify that why do you want this particular university to be in your list. Take GRE exam few months before the application. If you are expecting to submit application in February, I would suggest that you take exam 2-3 months earlier, just in case you want to retake the exam. Start writing your essays earlier so there you have a room for correction, so you can ask other people to help you out with the application. They can read it for you and they can suggest you the changes. Take inputs. I remember at my time, I took help from my alumni, from my university fellows who had been to the Fulbright earlier than me. So that is what I did before submitting the application. Next, please. No, can we have the second slide? Once you get a call for the interview, this is how I did. So before interview, make sure that the submitted application, you know what you have written. Since there's a time gap between your submission and between your interview, it can be sometimes 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months. It's better that you go through your application again and you go through everything you have put in your application. So in interviews, you are well aware what you have written in your application. Be well rested and confident. Fulbright interview is not a technical interview. It's the interview that is to check if you are the right kind of candidate for Fulbright program. So during this particular interview, they will ask you a question to make sure that this application you have submitted, you are well aware of the thing that you're included in this particular application. What else can be included before the interview is make sure that you are aware of the challenges that you might find during your program. Make sure that you have the capabilities that are needed to overcome those challenges. For example, there are people who would go through the homesickness. There are people who might need some help. I remember there was a fellow in our batch who need help with diabetes medicines. So the committee wants to know that once you are there, you are able to take care of yourself, and how are you going to do that? Justify your selection of university and program, why this particular university and program you want to apply for, why you cannot do the same thing in Pakistan, and what is the prospect of the same thing after you come back to Pakistan. All of us have weaknesses, so all the applicants who are applying, they must have some weaknesses as well. Sometimes there's an issue with the GPA, sometimes there are issues with GRE scores, sometimes a particular candidate does not have the work experience. Make sure whatever you have balances out the thing that you do not have. So at the end of the day, make sure during your interview process, if there is a weakness in your application, you are able to balance out your strength with the same weaknesses. Can we have the next slide, please? I had been lacking after coming through Fulbright journey in 2018. I was able to review the applications for other years and also being the part of the panel interviews. what I consider as a good application is something that has a very strong statement of purpose. And the second most important thing is letter of recommendation. There are applicants who submit 3 and 5 letter of recommendation. Personally, what I believe is if you have a strong letter of recommendation, 3 are good enough. But if you have a little bit of concern that the submitted 3 would not be good enough, then you can go for more than 3 letter of recommendation. In your application, make sure that what you have done and what you are planning to do align with the US Fulbright program goals. So if you go through the Fulbright program, you have a list of programs that they preferred, and one of them when I was applying was energy. And since I was applying for Petroleum Engineering program, I knew that this was one of their focus areas. So make sure that your goals align with US Fulbright goals. It is not something necessary, but it is preferable that a candidate has a little bit of work experience so we know that he has some practical experience of what he's learning. Also make a plan regarding what you want to do once you come back. Either you want to go back to academia, either you want to go back to your workforce that you're already working for. It is always good for the panelists to know that what is your plan after coming back to Pakistan. Next, please. Noor, can we move to another slide, please? Okay,
Can you see the next slide
thank
now?
you. Yeah,
It takes
thank you
a
so
couple of
much.
seconds to move. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So this had been the earlier we just covered the tips for the interview, for the application, everything. Now discussing about the my Fulbright journey, I went to Morgantown, West Virginia, which was a very small town. It was particularly made for the University of West Virginia. And since I grew up and in Karachi, so it was a bit shocking, but a kind of new experience for me. I was able to make friends from different backgrounds, as Qandeel also shared that we made friends from other cultures, other religions. I had really good kind of relationship with the same friends even to date. I also had a host family in US. If you can see, there's one of the picture where I was hosting them with biryani. And this was one of the very enriching experience that I even cherished now after so many years. Coming from Pakistan, since I was living in the East Coast, there was cultural shock and weather shock because we were not very used to of the winters, and we have seen the temperatures and negatives as well. But in United States, USEFP has been so helpful, and the locals have been so helpful. University have been so helpful that you go through the difficult times as well. Can we share the next slide, please? Okay, this is one of the biggest perk of going through Fulbright, that once you know that your expenditures are covered, you're not worried about making your ends meet, and this give us leverage. This give us the privilege to move around the US and see the United States. I had been lucky to travel at least 40% of the United States in 2 years, which is such a milestone because tours are not allowed to travel that much. But every now and then when I had a chance to travel, I traveled. I moved to different states, and it was really, really good. And I totally think that if I was not covered in terms of finances, I would have never been able to do that. So people who think they might be having issues in financial terms should apply for Fulbright. But even without the Fulbright, the education in US is such a wholesome experience that I think everybody should be able to experience it. Can I look for the another slide? Looking at these pictures just make me go through the same memories again, the great memories I had in United States. As Qandeel also discussed, of course, when you are in a new place, there are some challenges. There are some inherent challenges, but I guess the same challenges also dare us to change, and we change through our experiences. The 2 years make me change so many of my experiences. I was introduced to new preferences in food, not most of the, but many of the time. We were struggling for finding halal food because, since I already know, I was living in a small town and halal food was not very easily available, or not very, even if it was available, it was expensive. So we had to resort to raw fish or sushi or tuna or food like this that is possibly halal. What change it brought in me, those 2 years, they made me open to more experiences, more opportunities, and new hobbies. I did not know that I was a dog person, and when I started sitting with my American fellows and other fellows who had the pets, I just discovered this side of me as well, that I really love pets. I was able to connect with so many people there from so many backgrounds, and this is what Fulbright journey also taught us, how to network, how to make a strong connection that sometimes even lasts for the life. Can we have the other slide?
Can you see it now?
Yeah, thank you. I would say that Fulbright is just not about attaining a degree. It's about having a US experience and living in US experience. And I was lucky enough, I was privileged to have this particular experience. Fulbright has such a strong network. Pakistan US alumni had such a strong network that even after attaining my degree and coming back to Pakistan, I was able to connect with my alumni. I was able to give back to my community. I was able to sometimes even gain from their experiences and from their exposures. After coming back in 2018, I was able to connect with alumni network and be an active participant in the alumni network. And that has been really, really, really enriching experience in itself. So since new applications are opening, and I guess February is the deadline, I would encourage all of those who are thinking to apply, that do apply and see how it goes.
Thank you so much, Shan, Zehra, for sharing your beautiful journey. It was so nice to hear from both of you. We now have a bunch of questions. People who are raising their hands, please type it in the Q&A box and I will get to your question. So the first question is from Hassan Saptain. He's asking, what job prospects are for masters after returning from the US? Before I hand it over to Qandeel, if you could please answer this. In Fulbright, you are not bound to serve the country for 5 years. It is only if your length of your scholarship is 2 years, then that's 2 years in Pakistan. It is not 5 years. It depends on the length of your scholarship time. Qandeel, can you please go ahead and address the second part of the question? You're muted, I think.
Yeah, sure. So the job prospects are a lot after coming back to Pakistan. So all of those people who were with me doing masters started applying in their final semester for jobs, and they did their interviews online before coming back. And right after graduation, when they came back, they had jobs lined up because they had applied in advance. So they are still based on what background you are from and what your degree is and where you want to work. There are many job opportunities here in Pakistan after your Fulbright master's.
Thank you so much for that. We have another question. For detailed information, as I've mentioned, we were not going to answer the detailed questions for Fulbright. You can ask our program department at info@usefp.org. I will go ahead and type it in the Q&A box as well, so you can address that. Okay, so our next question is from Salar Khan. Shan, if you could answer it. Is there any scope for engineering?
Depends what does he mean by scope. Engineering very vast field. We have civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, Coming from the engineering background, I mostly suggest people that go for the mother fields like civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. So you have more prospect when you come back. There are other routes as well. People are going in robotics, people are going in machine learning and other areas as well. Coming back in Pakistan, there's so much work going on in field of IT, especially in Lahore. So there is a prospect. We can't say there's no prospect, but of course, I would not suggest somebody to over expect this particular prospect. I guess that's enough.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so my next question, wait just a sec. Is Fulbright scholarship available for MS of Engineering? Vikas, yes, it most certainly is. You can apply for Fulbright in that category. Okay, next question is, it's from Syed Amir Hamza Bukhari. He's saying, my question is to Qandeel. She's an alumni from Georgia Tech, and I'm currently interested in applying to biomedical innovation program over there. They have asked for a letter of intent. I want to know what is the difference between a letter of intent and a statement of purpose. Also, how big of a factor is GPA? Because we believe we people from GK and FAST don't get very high GPAs. Is that a really big factor if the GPA is below the requirement, asking for the Fulbright as well?
Okay, so I would suggest that you can email the department and get to know their comments about the letter of intent, because these things can vary from university to university. I'm pretty sure that the admission office there, or whoever the concerned person is, they can guide you very well about what they mean from a letter of intent. So you can contact them for more details, because I applied 8 years ago and things have changed a lot. So for more updated version or more updated information, I think the department would be able to answer you in more detail. First part of your question. The second is you need to have a certain GPA. That is important. But honestly speaking, my GPA was not also like a lot. I was just around, well, I was in the percentage system. So I was in around 75% in my master's and 85 in my bachelor. So I always tell my students that it's a complete application package that matters. It's not just your GPA, it's not just your GRE score. It's also about your prior experiences, your extracurricular experiences, how you are as a person, what your future goals are, and what are your intents for the future to achieve in the Fulbright program. So all of these things matter. Just because you have 4.2 and nothing else, it won't guarantee a scholarship for you or an admission. So it's the whole package that's important.
Thank you so much. For Fulbright, for those of you interested in knowing the full process of Fulbright, again, you will find all that information on our website, usefp.org. For people who are asking detailed, like case-by-case based questions, we cannot answer them over here because a Fulbright is reviewed by another department, and you need to maybe reach out to the programs department. Yeah. Okay, we have another question. For specific requirements of the Fulbright application, you need to reach out to our programs department. Okay. Salar Khan, GRE is an exam which is mandatory for you to apply. In order for you to apply for Fulbright, you have to take the GRE. You can check our website, educationusa.pk. We're having a bunch of different workshops on GRE lately, and you will also find them in the market. You have a bunch of options for prep. But along with that, you can also check out our YouTube page, and you will find a lot of classes for GRE as well. Okay, next question. Shan, Zehra, if you could answer this question, please. Anonymous attendee is asking, in Fulbright application, the teaching experience section, can you give any tips? As I have tutored students in the last year, does that count?
Yes, I guess people who have worked as teaching assistant must fill this particular part of the application. And even if you have voluntarily taught somebody, you should also mention this. Teaching experience does not necessarily mean it's a paid job. If you have a teaching experience in terms of teaching assistantship or tutoring somebody for totally CSR reasons, you can also include that in your teaching experience. But you have to mention it openly that it was an unpaid job.
Thanks so much. Qandeel, the next question is for you. What's the importance of work experience in getting selected?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
If you can, let me pull up it. The question said, they were just asking about the importance of work experience. Before you answer, I just want to lay it out. Only for two programs, it's mandatory to have work experience. One is MBA and the other is MPA. And that too, because that's a requirement for US universities. So in order to apply in these two programs for Fulbright, you have to have a minimum of 2 years of work experience. But if you are talking for any other degree, they were just asking about the importance of work experience prior to applying for Fulbright.
So I don't think that there is a hard and fast requirement of the Fulbright program, but of course, work experience gives you some set of skills that would be important and that would help the Fulbright panel to differentiate you or get to know that you have what skills you have acquired over time. So I think in that terms, the work experience is important. It also gives you a sense of independence and it takes you out of the classroom and makes you more or helps you in your growth. So in that terms, work experience is important, but I don't think it's Noor can confirm if that is not required or like mandatory for the Fulbright scholarship, apart from the 2 degrees that she has mentioned.
That's absolutely correct. Thank you so much. Shan, Zehra, if you could please answer the next question. The question says, how much of an effect does having a research paper help in Fulbright and overall applications? If somebody wants to pursue a graduate degree in biomedical and has an undergraduate degree in computer engineering, does that show to the panel that the candidate is confused about his goals?
Actually, this is the reason most of the applicants does not get selected is when your application does tell you that the person is confused. If you are interested in research and academia, research papers are must. You should have been able to submit at least a second author a paper while you are in undergraduate. And I particularly think if you're applying for a master's program through Fulbright, papers are not must. If they would look on good on your application, but you should not think twice about them. But if you're applying for PhD, of course, papers pay a lot. Even in the university selection, like when you are selected for Fulbright and the Fulbright is applying on your behalf to other universities, the papers you have published, they means a lot. But for master program, they do not mean that much. Also, you should be clear that you want to stick to the research or you want to pursue something else, because for research, you have to have the published papers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Muhammad Jokyu is asking if there's a CGPA requirement for the Fulbright scholarship. Qandeel, would you want to add to that? Are you aware of this?
I think USEFP has some limit to it. I don't know the exact numbers. Yeah, because I think they don't, again, as I said, that it's a whole application package. So
I would recommend you, for these questions, please, you have all these answers on our website, usefp.org is your best friend to get all these answers. Yeah.
If I may, can I add something, Noor?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So in the past, this had fluctuating. There had been years where it was the limit of 2.5. Then there were the time they put it on 3. The time during the COVID where GRE was waived off for a while, the CGPA requirement was raised. But right now, there is no such requirement on CGPA. For this particular cycle, there is none.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question from an anonymous attendee. Shan, if you want to answer this. They're asking if change of field is seen as a negative or a positive, like variation between your master's and your bachelor's degree. Shan, am I audible? We might have lost her. Qandeel, would you mind taking this question, please?
I think it depends on what you have done in the bachelor's and if it's connected to what you have done in the master's. The good thing about US is that they do allow interdisciplinary work and research, and a lot of people do change their fields over time, coming from bachelor's to PhD, but they need to have some connection or some background to it. You cannot expect to come from a chemical engineering background and do civil engineering right away without doing anything in between that connects the two things. So some universities may take it positively that, okay, you are willing to expand and you have already done something to connect those two degrees, but others may not be very welcoming about it. So you may want to check the details where you are applying or when USEFP applies on your behalf so that you don't run into any issues later on.
Thank you so much for that, Qandeel. That makes complete sense. Mohammed Jokyo, yes, you're with the CGPA of 3.46. You can most certainly apply, but it's not just CGPA. A Fulbright application is a bunch of other things. There's a statement of purpose, there's letter of recommendations. It's a long application. You need to check out the website for further and detailed information. Okay. Syed Amir Hamza Bukhari is asking, in particular, what makes a candidate stand out for the Fulbright scholarship? Is it the SOP, GPA, GRE, score, or the entire application? Qandeel, this question is for you.
Yes, so it is the entire application. So that is why USEFP gives you such a long time to prepare your application. They want you to write about your research interest, your statements, and your letter of recommendations, and about your whole life, because everything matters. Sometimes, well, not everyone is excellent in every field. So they want to know that you are a well-rounded person who can do well in different circumstances. Even when they are interviews, they ask if you have been through some challenging times. So it's the whole thing. It's not just they don't want to bookworms who don't do anything else or who are not able to interact with people, because Fulbright is not just about going into the classroom and learning. It's a whole experience on itself. So they want to do people who not only go and learn American culture, but they also promote Pakistani culture and be an ambassador of it. So it has to be, the whole application matters, as I said earlier.
Thank you so much for the Qandeel. That summarizes it perfectly. Salar Khan, yes, this is a fully funded scholarship with airfare, everything is included in this scholarship. With that, I believe we are done with the Q&A session as well. We lost Shan and Zehra during the end of the session, but thank you so much, Qandeel, for your time and for taking our time to do this session. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have one question last minute. Is it compulsory to come back to Pakistan after degree? Yes, it is compulsory for you to come back to Pakistan. You sign a bond with the HSE, and yes, you have to come back. The website is once again usefp.org. For those of you who are interested, Mohammed Jokyo is saying, I applied for UGrad program, but not due to statement of purpose. That's completely okay. That would not be held negatively against you. You can by all means apply for the Fulbright as well, and this time just try to work harder on your statement of purpose. Said Amir Hamza Bukhari has asked a very good question, actually. That's for you, Qandeel. Sorry, we still have, I think, 5 minutes before we can end the session. Qandeel, you got selected twice for the scholarship. What do you think you particularly did each time?
I think I was being very honest about my skills and my expectations and my goals in both terms. And I had some experience I had some work experience, I had some research experience, and I did a bunch of things during my job as well. So I had some good educational background. I had done some extracurricular activities or co-curricular and administrative work. And I was very clear about what I want to do during Fulbright and after coming back. I think these are the things that tells the committee that you have thought about the whole thing and you are very clear about what you are going to do with your life or like for the next 5 or 10 years. So that shows commitment or like preparation on your behalf. I think that's important that you take, and I spent quite some time on my application because I wanted everything to be in there as truthfully and in detail as possible. So because the committee is going to judge me for the first time through whatever is written on that application. The interviews come later. So you have to spend some time on the application so that it is a true depiction of yourself and what you are going to be in future. I think that's important.
Definitely. All right. With that, I think Q&As are end. We don't have any more questions. I will wait for 1 more minute. If you have any questions, please type in the Q&A box. All right. With that, thank you so much to both our panelists, Qandeel and Shan Zehra. It was really nice having you both, and I'm sure all our attendees learned a lot from both of you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for those of you who tuned in. Once again, we will have a bunch of other journey sessions coming up as well. If you're interested, please keep an eye on our website, educationusa.pk, for information on further sessions. But if you want information specific to Fulbright, USEFP.org is the website you need to visit. And once again, info@usefp.org is where you can direct all your Fulbright related questions as well. Thank you so much for those of you who tuned in. Thank you, and thank you, Qandeel and Shan Zehra.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
And all the
Noor.
best for your application.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.